What's going on, fellas? This bankroll challenge video comes when I'm in Chicago. Throwback a couple months ago when I had a meetup game with Wolfgang and I uploaded that video. This session you're gonna watch right here comes from that same trip. We make a trip out to Rivers Casino in Chicago. It seems like the spot to play poker if you're living around this area. So head to check it out, check out the 1-3 game, and of course, make a video for the bankroll challenge. They are a little strict when it comes to filming, so hit the like button because I'm trying to slide under the radar of filming. Was a little difficult, so hit the like button. Just let me know you guys appreciate all the efforts because the dealer has definitely called me out for filming it throughout this entire video. But the session's great. Always love checking out a whole new casino, and I can check that box off. I've been to Rivers, and I'm bringing you guys along. So let's hop into the streets here and try to run up a stack in this bankroll challenge.
Let's check out the 1-3 action in Chicago, shall we? With $500 max in our stack, we have the first hand, which is a $6 button straddle. We have 8-7 of clubs in the hijack and 3 players who limp. Suited connectors, let's get in there. I raise it up to $35. Only get the ungun limper to make the call, so going heads up to a flop of ace, queen, 3, 2 clubs. He checks it over to me, and I have a pretty easy c-bet here with the flush draw and ace, queen, high board. I bet $60, and my opponent snap folds. So just like that, nice way to start off over an $80 pot coming my way. And next hand, we get rewarded with aces in the big blind. Let's get this pot big. There's one player who limps, and then a raise to $15, and let's get more in. I put in a 3-bet out of position to 60, usually just go 4x. Anyways, I get the original raiser to make the call, so heads up to a flop of queen 4-5 rainbow. I decide to bet small here with my overpair, relatively dry board in a 3-bet pot. Don't think my opponent will have 6-7 or 4-5 too much, so I bet $30, and my opponent thinks about it for a little bit before making the call. So I'm just hoping he has a queen, would love to get stacks in versus that. So the turn comes the deuce of diamonds, brings in a backdoor flush draw, and I'm trying to set up some sort of river shove, trying to get the max, like I said, against a queen X holding. So I bet $135. This would set up a $250 river shove, give or take. But sadly, he ends up folding after saying he had none of this board. So I'll take in another pot, I guess. Definitely would have loved to get paid with aces, but can't complain. Let's try to get this next pot bigger with ace queen offsuit in the cutoff. There are 4 players who limp in for $3. $3, just not going to stand on my watch. I bump up the raise to $25, and somehow I get the small blind to call, then 3 out of the 4 limpers call as well. So we're going 5 ways to a flop now, which comes ace, deuce, 3, 2 hearts. Action checks it over to me, sitting with top pair, very good kicker. Let's just go for it. I bet $55 here for value, and one by one, they all fold. So not a whole lot of action going on in these early goings of hands. It's another easy $100 coming my way though, so slowly but surely, we're actually winning a decent chunk. All right, for the 4th hand of this session, can we get something a little bit bigger here? I straddled to $6, and there's one player who limps. A button raises to $20. Big blind makes the call, and I have ace, jack offsuit. I'm certainly in here. I make the call, and the limper calls as well. We're off to a flop of ace, 8-8, 2 clubs. Pretty good looking flop, all things considered. I'm out of position, I check, and surprisingly, action checks around. We're going to a turn now, which comes a 10. Doesn't change the board at all, and when the big blind bets out a small amount of $20, pretty small for me, in my opinion, maybe a little too small. So for those reasons, I'm going to raise for value here, maybe a little thin, but I go for it. $80 to go, hoping no one else behind has an 8, please. But unfortunately now, one of the limpers, he makes the call for $80, and this certainly raises some alarm bells because he might have an 8. Wouldn't be surprised, but everyone else ends up folding. Let's go to a river, hoping to just get the showdown, but the river's an ace. Wow, that is actually pretty darn cool. A splendid looking flop. Thank you, dealer. I went from thinking I was very much behind to, of course, confident that I'm ahead. So I actually decided to check, I actually decided to take a really greedy line here, wanting to get the max. The plan was to check raise or check jam, and I'm thinking this opponent either has missed clubs that can bluff, or maybe an 8 that's still willing to bet with a full house. So anyways, he bails me out with this very weird line and bets out $125. Awesome. I know my opponent has about 300 behind, give or take, and I didn't take this line to do anything else other than go for the max. I take my time, Hollywood a tad bit, and pretend like I'm thinking, and then go all in. He thinks for a little bit and asks out loud if I have an ace. Okay, well, I'm not going to tell you that, but I do. He watches the vlog, I'm friendly with him, and tell him if I go all in, I guess I certainly should have won a lot. Then he ends up making the call. I show the ace, and I'm told this opponent had 10-8. He already had a full house on the turn, and bam, I hit a dirty 2-outer on the river for it all. So that's kind of how you win in poker, everyone, if you're taking notes. Bankroll challenge funded by Running Good, Suckouts, and Coolers. Let's try to follow up that big pot. I have Jack 10 suited on the button. There's one player who limps, a hijack raised to $20, and I think this is a good candidate to just make the call, especially in position. So I make the call, and the limper calls as well. We're off to a flop of ace, queen, deuce. So things are picking up when there's 2 spades on the board. Flopping the combo draw, the hijack player bets out 35. I think I'm happy to just make the call here. Jack high, it's a decent combo draw, so I make the call, and a limper calls as well. Love to see the pot building. 3 ways to a turn, which is the 4 of diamonds, brings in a backdoor flush draw, and the hijack continues again for $100. And I'm kind of annoyed here at this really large sizing. I think it's hard for this opponent to have many bluffs here, barreling into 2 people at these stakes. So let's just think about this a little bit more. So in my mind, it's obvious he's not bluffing, and I don't even know if I'm going to get paid if my outs hit. That's one of the issues with flush draws, is that if you hit one, you don't really get paid that often. And there's still another player to act behind me as well. So if I call, the opponent check raises, it's a disaster. So I decided to let my cards go and fold here. Very, very needy fold. And the third opponent in this hand ends up folding ace jack, which doesn't seem like I made a good fold in my opinion, but when the hijack shows ace king with the king of spades, wow. That's pretty sick to see, as all 3 of us had a very good hand on this board. I mean, when have you ever seen me fold a combo draw like this? I guess only at 1-3 where I'm playing scared money. Crazy thing, or unfortunate thing, is that the opponent with ace king certainly should have gotten paid by both of these spots, but oh well. I guess we're moving on, because I saved a little bit of money before arriving to this hand. Ace queen offsuit on the big blind, $6 straddle on board, and there are 4 players who limp it over to me. Of course, I'm going for it. I raise it up to $50. Early position makes the call, small blind makes the call, and multi-way we go with one of the biggest pots of the night brewing pre-flop. The flop comes Jack 8-3 rainbow. Nothing going for me here. I just have no desire to bluff multi-way and out of position, basically. So action goes check, check, check. The turn comes a 4. So once again, not a good card for me. Action will go check, check, check again. The river comes a king. That should be a better card for me, but multi-way against these opponents. Action goes check, check. Then the last player decides to bet 125. Small blind folds, and I think about this for a little bit before ultimately just arriving on the conclusion that this opponent doesn't seem like a bluffer. So I believe him. I fold. I mean, maybe in some other games I could call this and hero it off with ace queen high, but I fold and just say goodbye to my $50. You tried your best, 50, but the flop didn't work out, and we're going to arrive to one of the last hands of the night. I have king 10 offsuit in the cutoff, and there's a low jack limp of $3. I raise it up to $15, and I get my buddy Wolfgang on my left, makes the call. Seems like he hates money, and a limper calls as well. We're off to a flop of 9-5-3 rainbow, and you can see I hold my phone up because I got yelled at the dealer for recording and stuff. So what's less obvious than a phone propped up on the table is me holding it, pointing at the cards. Anyways, action checks around on this brick flop. The turn is the jack of spades, though. So, I've got a gut shot straight draw, and with a little bit of equity, I decided to bet $35. And guess what? Wolfgang makes the call to my left. We're going to play a hand against our buddy. The river is the queen of spades. Bang! Gotta steal that one, of course. Hitting basically the nuts. I do lose to a flush, but whatever. I bet out $125, and Wolfgang calls so fast with Queen Jack. Bang! I take some of my friend's sweet, sweet money, drilling the cooler card, hitting the straight while he hits 2 pair. That's what you call making money. And that's a successful 1-3 session here today.
Ending off the session here with quite the beautiful view behind me of the Chicago skyline. But overall, first time at Rivers in Chicago here, it's a blast. So things just went really well. I only played for a handful of hours, only 2 hours to be quite honest with you, and sun ran. When you hit gutters, when you hit full houses, when you suck out on everyone, it's hard to not lose. And this is one of those nights where everything worked out really well, and we are one step closer to the bankroll challenge being completed. Also, shout out to this little Bears hat. Gotta love it. I'm a tourist in Chicago here. Anyways, let's get into the numbers here. I played for 2 hours. I was in the game for $500 and out of the game for $13.90. Solid profit of almost $900 in just 2 hours played, and that is going to lead us to a total of $36-ish $100 in profits. And this bankroll challenge is going pretty swimmingly. I've played 10 sessions. I have profited in 8 of those 10 sessions, just running really well, especially today. Things just went my way for sure, and I'm ending things off with this skyline here. I mean, it looks so nice, guys. Chicago's a pretty nice city. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and on to the next one. Trying to finish up this bankroll challenge as soon as I possibly can.